So we've already talked about the Kia EV4, haven't we?
I believe so. Last week,
Was it last week? Oh my God, it sees like months ago. There- so much has happened.
whenever it was.
Yeah, so we talked about it a little bit. We're going to talk about it a little bit more because uh they had a day. Where was this, in Germany? They had a day where they unveiled some more
I think
about the car.
Spain, I want to
Was it
say.
Spain?
I don't know.
Whatever. It's all on the other side of the ocean. Does it matter?
We weren't
America first,
invited.
man. It's America first.
America first.
I'm Phil Royle. I'm one of the co-hosts here on the podcast and the blog. You want to help support us, go to thewhatcar.com/store and purchase yourself a t-shirt or a hat or a water bottle, or I think our hoodie's still on there. We got a number of things. The cost of doing this podcast is not much, but it's not free. So any assistance
Any
you can
support
give
welcome.
would be great. I am one of the co-hosts here. Like I said, I've been doing automotive journalism in some form or fashion for over 20 years. I'm going to start dialing that number down so I seem a little younger. So let's just say 15, more than 15 years.
There you go.
What about you?
Uh, I'm not going to try and hide my age in any fashion, as you can probably see from my hairline. So this is probably the first episode. If you're watching the video, I'm not wearing a hat.
Now,
So,
this was, well, introduce, keep going.
all right, introductions. Ed Sanchez, 20 plus years in automotive content creation and moderation, day job, automotive electronics industry analyst, and the Watt Car co-founder and contributor.
If you want to see what Ed's head looks like, go to youtube.com/@thewattcar. He
And you'll be
wears
blinded by the light.
he normally wears a Watt Car hat or one of the hats that we wear, to the point that I'd actually forgotten what your head looked like. And you came in on this call and I'm like, oh, somebody else showed up. Oh, wait, no, it's Ed. I totally forgot.
No, he had to suddenly put on his sunglasses. So,
All right, let's talk about your next car. Kia
or one of them. Yeah.
EV4. Well, yeah, I mean, I guess we've already
Maybe
decided the Rivian R3.
R3X if it happens.
Yeah, that potentially is your next car. But the
Yeah.
EV4 would not be a bad way to go. Not necessarily the sedan, but I'd not seen pictures last time we talked about this of the hatch. And
They
the hatch looks pretty good.
they call it a hatch. To me, like I think I kind of jawboned on this a little bit on the last whichever episode we discussed this. To me, the hatch looks more like a crossover, and I'm still upset that they didn't make the sedan a liftback. But that's kind of beside the
No, I
point.
totally see the liftback. The sedan should have been a liftback,
Yeah,
but I like the hatch. I really do. I
yeah,
think you're right. It does look a little bit like a crossover, but I bet you in person, I bet the size of it and everything, I bet it would work as a little hot hatch. So there's been other details revealed. And one of them is a big wah wah. It
well, maybe.
anything with the Hyundai Group, I just assume is going to be EGMP 800 volt.
Mhm.
And this is EGMP, but presumably 400 volts.
Yeah. Um, I think they've said it's 400 volt. Still pretty healthy battery capacity. The quote large battery is 18.4 kilowatt hours. So that's good size. Um, so also unlike the Ionic 5 and Ionic 6, this is going to be front wheel drive instead of rear wheel drive, but some are speculating they might do some all wheel drive variants of it. So
And I always say this,
yeah,
front wheel drive is not the end of the world for a vehicle, especially if you're talking commuters or
yeah.
even in like adverse weather.
Until honestly, until I got my Model 3, almost all the cars I owned were front wheel drive. So
Yeah, I race rear wheel drive and
mhm.
I've also raced front wheel drive, and I am better and more consistent in front wheel drive than I am in rear wheel drive. I have more
Yeah,
fun in rear wheel drive.
yeah,
Hands down, rear wheel drive is more fun. But what is easier and safer to drive, both on the street,
yeah.
in snow, in water, and racing applications, front wheel
Hmm.
drive it's a point and
Hmm.
shoot solution. So I totally get
Yeah.
it.
And it seems just based on the specs that this is going to be, I don't know if they've announced pricing officially, but I think, I mean, frankly, the Ionic 5 is not the cheapest EV. I mean, in a like a decent configuration, it's around 50 grand. So I think they're aiming to make this like, you know, low to mid 30s. So that's probably why they made some of these design decisions. So quoted 0 to 60 time, or 0 to 62 because kilometers, or 0 to 100 kilometers an hour. I guess depending on the small or large battery packs, 7.4 to 7.7 second. Plenty quick for, a commuter type car. I mean, that's probably what, I don't know, Corolla or Civic could do. And I remember, back, I'm going to do another back in the day. I mean, I remember like figures like this would be like, wow, that's pretty quick.
Yeah, this is not
Yeah.
anything to shrug at. It's fine, is where this falls in. If it was
106
10
tops.
seconds, different,
Yeah.
but it is
Yeah.
fine.
7.4, 7.7, 106 top speed. Again, if you're going faster than that, you probably shouldn't be driving on public roads.
Yeah, that's not a street application.
They're claiming 10 to 80% charging in 30 minutes, which I think is a little bit slower than like the Ioniq 5.
Yeah, but that's right there
Still
with the
par for the course.
Yeah, but it's also
fine.
the 400 volt instead of 800 volt. If this were an
Yeah.
800 volt architecture, then that'd be 18 minutes, whatever it was the
Yeah.
others are.
So now this is not necessarily strictly related to electrification, but I found it kind of interesting because it kind of segues a little bit into my day job and what I cover. So they're going to do OTA updates via the owner's cell phone. So typically, and I believe these cars have a built-in modem, like a 4G cellular modem built into the car. So it's not that they couldn't do it, but for whatever reason, they're choosing to push out OTA updates through the owner's cell phone. So
Have they said how that'll work? Like,
my understanding is, first of all, when you get the vehicle, you'll obviously, pair it with your phone. So it'll, have that.
So you'd have to have the Kia app, presumably.
Yeah. So it'd be through the app, and you get probably an update notification on your phone saying, hey, a new update is available. You do download, and presumably I get update notifications on my phone, but the actual data transfer is directly to the car through Wi-Fi in my case.
I guess actually, I'm looking at this like I'm giving you like a deer in headlights look, but when I think about it, this is how Android Auto updates in my car. This is exactly how Android Auto it updates. So
so
I don't know why it would be easier to do it over the phone if it's already got cell connectivity, but it's just another way of doing something. It's not abnormal.
I have a hunch. I haven't had any confirmation, and no one's said, oh yeah, that's why. But my guess is somehow there's a cost savings involved for Kia. So basically, like if you think of like B2B transactions, businesses buy and sell services to each other all the time. And Kia, at least in the US, their telecom partner, I think now is Verizon. I think it used to be AT&T, but so they probably now, even though if you get like the connectivity plus package or oh gosh, it used to be called UVO. I don't know what it's called now, but anyway, their connectivity package. So the customer pays part of that, but part of that is paid by the company. So
yeah, I think
guessing
you're
there's a
completely
cost
correct.
savings. There's a cost savings thing going on here. They said, "Oh, well, we'll just have the user when their individual, data plans pay for this." And as long as it's not a huge, massive, terabyte size, file, then it's not a big deal. But
yeah, it should be able
that's
to
my
transfer
guess is
pretty
why
easily.
they're doing this. I don't have official confirmation of that, but my guess is a cost saving.
You've talked me into it.
Yeah.
That's 100% what it is.
So moving on. Finally, I mean, kind of cool for me because I have one. I guess this has support for the Apple Watch for digital key. So I think digital key actually debuted first on Android, and then Apple kind of got
Okay,
on
so
board
I'm old and
ultimately.
I don't have anything like this. What does this mean? This means I get in the car, I've got my watch on, and the car just fires up and goes?
You could lock, unlock, turn on, which an EV would be like HVAC or infotainment or whatever.
Can I drive with just the phone or just the watch? Or is it just
I've
like,
never That's a good question. I've never actually tried. I would assume yes. So, um, as long as it can kind of
Man,
make that confirmation and validation
I
with your
feel so
device and just
old.
like, yeah.
I am the guy who goes to the airport, and when I'm like, 24 hours before my flight, I check in on my phone. I've got the app, I check in on the phone. I've
Mhm.
got that. And then I go to the airport. The first thing I do is I go to one of the little kiosks against the wall that nobody touches because I'm not checking any bags. And I
Mhm.
go and print out my card because my fear is always that my phone dies
Mhm.
or it won't scan off
Or
of my
crashes
phone
or whatever.
or
Yeah.
whatever, right as I'm at the
Goes to
line.
sleep. I've
Yeah.
seen that a lot in line. Like they have it open, then the screen goes to sleep, and they're like, "Oh, wait a minute, okay."
Yeah, and then it like I was behind somebody a couple flights ago that exact thing happened. It went to sleep. They couldn't log back in for whatever reason, and when they finally got there, the app wasn't. It was crashing, and they're like, "What do I
And
do?
they're
What
like,
do I
"Step
do?"
aside, sir."
Now the flip side to this is the only time I've ever lost a ticket is a paper ticket going through security. So I've never lost my phone. And I
Yeah.
had, but there I've got the ticket on my phone and I've got a paper
Hmm.
ticket. I don't know. I guess this, as long as you've got to follow on to that analogy, as long as I got an actual key fob, like key fob card, whatever the other function is,
Like a
and I'm not
backup.
completely
Yeah.
reliant on the watch, then I guess it's a good
It's just an
second.
added
Yeah,
convenience feature. So
yeah.
kind of cool. Supposedly coming to the US. I don't know if they've officially announced that, but by most indications, I think this would kind of fit into the US lineup pretty well. Better than the what was it, the PV5 minivan.
Hmm.
They're kind of K-pop version of the ID Buzz.
Yeah, I
Um,
think this looks good.
yeah.
I think the Hyundai group is losing its design savvy just recently. I don't think this is
Mm.
everything that it could be compared to the vehicles that they've had in the past. That said, the front looks just like the EV6. Like,
Well, I mean,
no
so
surprise.
it's I mean not to go too into the weeds, and I always say that, and we always do.
And here we
I
go.
I do see a little bit of bifurcation in terms of the styling direction between the Hyundai and Kia brands specifically. Um, for a while, a lot of the Hyundai models look very similar, just going, between Elantra, Sonata at the time, Azera, whatever. They all look like kind of variations of each other. Um, and then they decided, no, we're going to go away from that. We're going to make each vehicle look distinctive and different. So now I mean, there's certainly similarities, but they don't look like carbon copies of each other between like the Kona, the Ionic 5, the Ionic 6, the new Sonata, um, the Tucson, the Santa Fe. They all look a little bit different. Um, you know, whereas Kia, I think is kind of going more for this kind of very similar look, especially like on the crossovers. And I would include in that the restyle of the Sedona um, minivan. They all kind of have a very kind of, I don't know, it's like a upside down L bracket like
Hmm.
LED light
Yeah.
signature. Um, so this kind of follows that, whether or not you're a fan. I mean, I'm not offended by it. You know, whatever.
It's not going to
So
win any style awards, I don't
yeah,
think. But it should be, if the price is right, I think it should sell well.
yeah.
Uh, it's,
Yeah, but
I'm
I mean, it looks to
disappointed
me,
by the
the
voltage.
sedan looks similar to the K4,
Yeah.
which itself is like their update to the was it the Spectra?
Wasn't
Or
the
is
K4 the
was
Optima?
Spectra like a generation before that? The
Wasn't,
Forte?
yeah, the
Maybe I'm
K4 was
thinking of
the
the
Optima, pretty sure.
no, the K5 is the Optima.
K5's the Optima? Then I don't
Yeah.
know.
So no, so I think whatever their compact, they're equivalent to the Elantra,
Oh, yeah. Gotcha.
which I think is pretty distinctive looking for that segment. The K4.
Yeah.
Um, compared to like a Mazda 3 or a Civic, it definitely has a distinct look. Now, whether or not you like that, I mean, that's something else. But it's definitely got kind of more of an edgy look. But anyway,
So a car I did like the looks of is this Xiaomi SU7, which I don't like the name of because it makes
yeah,
me think of an SUV when
and it's a sedan.
it is a sedan. And it's like a sport sedan, the SU7 Ultra.
from a side profile, it looks almost like a doppelganger of Porsche Taycan, I
Yeah.
think.
That,
A lot of people have made that comparison, but
this is slick looking
yeah,
and very powerful and not as expensive as you'd think, but we can't get it in America.
yeah. So if you have $73,000 and you live in China, you can buy one of these. And for that, are you sitting down?
Always.
You get 1,527 horsepower.
That's insane.
That's even more than a Lucid Air Sapphire, which I thought was pretty awesome with over 1,200.
Yeah.
But this is literally like a quarter, like almost a quarter of the price of that. So they're claiming a 0 to 60 time of 1.98 seconds, 217-mile-an-hour top speed, and they have an unofficial Nürburgring lap time. I guess they have to, there's, in order to get an official time,
Yeah.
you have to have a third party observer.
There's
You
all
have to
these
go through all these
requirements.
steps.
Yeah, there's all these requirements to get the official one.
Yeah.
So that was 6 minutes, 46 seconds, 0.874. And put that in relation to other things, I don't know, but it's fast.
Generally, so the consensus is anything under 7 minutes is really freaking fast. I don't know what the Plaid, I don't know if they ever even did an official time
I
for
got
the Plaid.
so bored of Tesla in that back and forth with Porsche about the Nürburgring lap. What was that, 3 years ago, whatever? And they were shipping cars back and forth, and there were cars showing up with like test things, and you're like, I don't even know. It's just not even worth it.
So TLDR, under 7 minutes is very quick. So, I mean, it's clearly has the chops. I find this kind of ironic because I know, I can't remember if we discussed this on the podcast or just between the two of us, but I guess one of the earlier variations of the SU7 had pretty good acceleration, but like massively undersized brakes.
Mm.
And someone said the brakes are the same size as like a Honda CR-V. And this was a much heavier, much larger, much more powerful car. And I guess some guy in China did like a hot lap or something and like set the brakes on fire. And he did like a social media video about it. And
I've set brakes on fire before. It
and
happened.
then Xiaomi says, "Oh well, hold on, we're going to do a new performance variant. It's going to have better brakes, blah blah blah." So,
What I like about this, multiple things.
yeah.
One is I had said a long time ago when they were hitting, like, I think it was probably with the Plaid, 0 to 60 in 2 seconds. And I'm like, man, before when 0 to 60, a fast time 0 to 60 was 4 seconds or 4.5 seconds. We were at the limit of the tires. And there was a tire limitation, and then there was a limitation of the ability for the vehicle to actually have some kind of traction control that can modulate the power enough to get it down to the ground. And as tire technology progressed and the technology of traction control progressed, that the numbers started to go down. You got 3.5 seconds, 3 seconds. Like, you didn't need an EV necessarily to get into that range, into the 3 seconds or sub 360, sub 3 seconds 0 to 60 time. But then we hit about 2 seconds, and I made the statement of like, we've got to be at the limit of physics at some point here. You've got all-wheel drive, you've got great tires, you've got incredible traction control systems, you've got, state-of-the-art stuff, and you have 1,000 horsepower, and you're at about the limit. And then you've got Elon Musk with the mythical roadster that'll never happen. And that was like, oh, that'll be 1.8 seconds or something, and it's going to use rockets, and it's going to float and all this. And I'm like, we're at physics. We're at
Well, already you're
faster.
seeing the law of diminishing returns.
Yeah.
Because,
well, this right here is case in point. This is 1,500 horsepower. This is what, 300 horsepower-ish more than the Sapphire. And the 0 to 60 to time is about the same. Now, it's going to probably pull harder to 200 miles an hour. You'll see other advantages in other places. But I bet you you're not even getting 1,500 horsepower at low power. I bet they're
and I would say even going from 0 to 60 this fast on public roads is borderline irresponsible. Now, fun.
Depends on the road.
That. Well, yeah, depends on the road,
road.
The road and the surrounding traffic. But this is like, I would say borderline dangerous, especially to people that don't have really good driving skills. But anyway,
So the other thing that really fascinated me about this is
uh-huh.
I've read reviews of Chinese cars where
Hmm.
people have come out and they've said, on paper, this thing is great. And
Hmm.
specs wise, this thing is great. And you look at the charging and you look at the battery swapping technology, whatever it is that they're doing, and that's great. But you get behind the wheel and it's missing something. It
Yeah.
doesn't have the X factor of like the driving dynamics, the thing that BMW really like,
Hmm.
became known for because they told
Hmm.
everybody they were known for it, or
Hmm.
Volkswagen because they told
Yeah.
everybody they were known for it. These car companies, Mazda is another one where
Hmm.
they dial in the driving. And so when I saw this, I was like, okay, great, 1500 horsepower Chinese car that's going to handle awfully and have no
Hmm.
soul to it.
Hmm.
And in the video, this video, we'll link in the show notes, they've got this thing like you'd say, they're going around the Nürburgring, which means that it
Hmm.
can actually turn. Doesn't mean it
Hmm.
drives particularly well, but it can actually turn and stop
Hmm.
over the course of 6.5 minutes. But they also show it drifting through some of the corners, which looked a little CGI to me, but maybe not. And they showed it drifting at some of the Nürburgring turns and drifting
Yeah.
through some dirt in like a dry lake bed. And I'm like, okay, so they get that driving dynamics are important. Whereas before, the reviews were these Chinese automakers, they get it technically, but they don't necessarily get it
Dynamically.
enthusiastic,
Yeah.
yeah, an enthusiast or the dynamics behind it all. And this one, I watched the video and was like, maybe they do. Maybe they
Yeah.
get it
Yeah.
now. Maybe taking it to the Nürburgring. I'm not a big fan of like, oh, you got to prove it at the Nürburgring. It's just another measuring stick.
Hmm.
But the fact that they did it
Hmm.
from a country that is not known for
Hmm.
vehicles
That
that
doesn't
really
have
get
like
your
a
blood
century
pumping,
old driving culture. Yeah.
yeah, it gave me a lot of hope. And the car looks fantastic. The inside looks
Yeah. Yeah.
amazing. So
No,
like,
I think we're past the point of asking the question, are the Chinese capable of making world-class cars? It's like, yes. In fact, that's why the rest of the global automotive industry is kind of shaking in their boots, like, oh, blank, what do we do now? You
yeah,
know?
no, as
Um,
soon as they come to American shores, it's,
yeah.
but and there. So okay, you put 100% tariff on the car. And
Hmm.
you say you can get 1,500 horsepower and 0 to 60 in 1.98 seconds for $140,000. There'd be a lot of takers. Like
Oh
the
yeah. Yeah.
tariffs aren't
Even at
gonna stop
100%
it.
tariffs, this would
Yeah,
still be bang for the buck would still be a deal.
yeah. I
So
mean, I just found out how much the Corvette, is it Z06, ZR1,
ZR1, the
ZR1,
twin
and
turbo,
it's like
yeah,
170,000 to 180 or 190,000. This is like
yeah, yeah, yeah,
this is every bit there,
yeah,
and you can fit four people in it. Like
yeah. And
I,
remember, I mean, I say only like, I got all, I'm making it rain in the club, but, um, uh, that I think the Plaid is currently around 90. When it first came out, that was also, I think, 140, 145,000 when it first came out. And they, subsequently just chop, chop, chop on the price. But, so yeah, I mean, it's right there. I mean, even with the huge tariff, I mean, yeah, this could be very competitive.
yeah, I think that they are priced at the point the tariffs don't matter on some of their cars. Yeah, the lower end stuff. Okay, if they have a twenty
But
thousand dollar car, now it comes to America and it's 40,000. Well, you could buy a Model
but
3 or
okay,
something
but
like
then this
that.
gets to the conversation we had, I think it was last week, about Lucid versus Mercedes and brand
Hmm.
recognition.
Yes.
Would people see this as a off-brand Chinese cell phone?
It would then be trying to sell on an equal marketing, on an equal footing for
With the
prices.
the prestige
And
brands. Yeah.
there you're going to go to the brand, you're going to go to Audi, something like that.
Hmm.
But
Well,
even in
my
this
my
case, this is
yeah.
still a good deal at 100% tariff.
So my feeling with this is the Chinese will kind of face, I think, a similar thing that the Koreans did in terms of brand building. Because I remember when Hyundai and Kia first came to the US, oh, they're cheap throwaway cars, you know, whatever. Oh, I'll get it for my daughter for college, and she'll wear it out, and that's that. Um, but they continued to iterate. They offered competitive warranties. They continue to improve the quality, and it's taken, I would say, it's taken Hyundai and Kia better part of 20 years to build the brand to a point where they're considered, on par with like Honda, Toyota, Ford, whatever, and they're not considered cheap throwaway brands. So I think it may take a while for these Chinese brands to get to that level of recognition
It's
and
not going to take them
status.
20 years, though. I'll tell you
No, no,
that.
no, 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 no. I'd say 5 or 10,
Yeah,
but
they
it's
will
not going to
accelerate
be,
it fast. Yeah.
it's not going to be immediate. They're going to have to be out there. They're going to have to prove their quality of their customer service performance. But yeah,
So, how immediate will the Ford Mach-4 be? Is this even branded as a Mustang, or is this just called the Mach-4? They've done a trademark application for the Mach-4.
yeah. So this is something that's kind of been rumbling around for a few years. Is a four-door Mustang. So you could say, well, they kind of already did that with the Mach-E, but that's really not a true Mustang. I mean, it's branded, but
Oh, how dare you!
no,
How
no.
dare you!
Uh, but I think, and again, this is just my personal feelings. I think what got Ford thinking about this is the whole Charger Challenger thing, and seeing for a while at least how popular the Charger was, being basically like a four-door muscle car. And so I think they're like, hey, maybe we could do something with this. Um, so it's funny if you actually click on this article, it shows a four-door Mustang concept from the 1960s.
That concept looks as weird to me as when Jeep unveiled the Unlimited. Remember that? Jeep's always had two doors, and then they unveiled
Yeah.
the Unlimited, and it was
Like,
like looking at somebody that's got four eyes,
yeah,
and
yeah,
you're like, I can't focus on it. It's not
yeah,
right. And it took me forever to
yeah,
feel comfortable around a Jeep Unlimited. And now it's my favorite Jeep that they have.
yeah,
This is the same way when I look at that 1960s concept of the
yeah. Well,
four-door
but
Mustang.
it's really not that far-fetched, because if you think about it, the original Mustang was based on the Falcon, and the Falcon was available as a coupe, a sedan, a wagon, even like a little like a Ranchero, uh, it- you know, truck utility thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's not like they couldn't have done it, but I think back in the day, I think they were much more branding was much more sacrosanct in terms of like a Mustang has to be a coupe, a Corvette has to be two-door, two-seater.
I think there was a lot of also doing things for the joy of driving back then. It was a
Mhm,
new, crazy time of you're
mhm.
making
Post-war,
vehicles that
yeah.
can perform, people can afford them, you can go
Hmm.
out and just drive. Gas was affordable, the freeway
Hmm.
system was opening up. You could go places. America was an adventurous place at the time, and I
Hmm.
think that
Hmm.
that was a product of the time. Nowadays, you got to make a buck.
Yeah,
And you make a buck by selling things that people can fit into, whether or
yeah.
not it's an
And I
SUV with the
think
Mustang
there's
name or
more
not.
consumer demand for like a all-in-one kind of vehicle.
Yeah,
Hence the rise of the crossover, something that does kind of everything
yeah.
fairly well. Um,
So we
so
don't know
anyway,
if this is EV or ICE or anything. We know
or both.
literally nothing, or
Yeah,
both. Yeah.
yeah, we have no idea. But it shows Ford is looking at the concept of a four-door Mustang besides the Mach-E.
So one
But
thing that
yeah,
indicates it might be an EV
yeah.
is year-to-date sales for Ford so
Hmm.
far, and sales are down as far as I
Hmm.
could tell. Sales are
Overall, yeah.
down, but the Mach-E sales year over year increased 62%.
Hmm.
And hybrid sales are up 23%. Ford, I guess, Ford EV sales overall up 17%. So I
Hmm.
guess with the van and whatnot,
I don't know if they also
uh,
include like plug-in hybrid and like all the,
yeah,
yeah,
Lightning
I
sales are
don't know.
down.
Hmm.
But I mean, that we've been down that EV truck
Yeah,
rabbit hole so many times. Anybody who is going to get one, I think, has gotten one, and everybody
yeah.
who hasn't gotten one is looking for something that can actually do truck stuff.
Hmm.
And until the 3-year lease or 5-year lease cycle comes around, they're
Hmm.
gonna struggle with those. But EVs are what, despite drill baby drill,
Hmm.
despite pulling all of the NEVI funding as much as they can out of the administration as fast as they can, despite uh, trying to get rid of EVs and bury all of that,
Hmm.
sales are going up,
Hmm.
with the exception of Tesla. but sales are going
Yeah, but
up.
particularly the Mach-E is
Yeah.
now Mach-E kind of had its own little roller coaster ride. The initial spike, then sales kind of dropped, but it seems like they've kind of found their footing again. So
I've got a number of friends who have recently purchased Mach-E's,
yeah.
and they're not getting the GT whatever all-wheel drive. They're
Hmm.
getting just long range rear-wheel drive,
Hmm.
whatever. But multiple people in the last few months that I know
Hmm.
have purchased Mach-E's. They are part of that 62% year over year sale
Yeah.
gain that Ford is seeing. And I think that's a very positive sign if maybe they're not getting to the profitability that they want, but if
Hmm.
sales are increasing, that shows where the future is. And then
Hmm.
the company can go, well, how do we make money doing that? Because there's a
Hmm.
market. And the
Hmm.
question is, the argument has always been there's no market. And so they make compliance cars and like nobody wants to buy
Hmm.
these things.
Hmm.
Well, yeah, you're making crap cars. Now you're making something good. You're making the
Hmm.
Mach-E, which when I tested that one was fantastic. I loved it.
Hmm.
And everybody that I
Except
did,
the front wheel spin. But I mean,
yeah,
some people, is that a feature or a bug? As the saying goes.
it makes you think that it's so powerful that it can't get traction when the reality is that they just needed better traction tuning on
Or
the,
did they?
or did they? I conspiracy theory with tire manufacturers.
Oh, well, I mean, if you want to go down that road and you're talking about Chinese EVs, I don't know if you've seen these videos of them parallel parking, but it basically it scrubs the tires to like swing it into the space. And I saw someone post one of those videos on LinkedIn, and I made the kind of salty comment. I said, tire manufacturers love this one trick because I just cringed when I look at it. I'm like, oh man, there goes like 10,000 miles worth of tread right there. But anyway,
All right. Well, do you want to pick another topic?
what do we got? You had one you wanted to talk about.
I don't know if I
I
do
have
want to talk
one
about it.
really random. I think I'll save this for because the situation with like tariffs and Trump is so fluid right now. It's like day to day. Who
By
knows?
the
So
time this episode comes out,
yeah, exactly. It's already
who even knows? So
irrelevant.
the only thing that was kind of interest is, I guess, a Tesla owner tweeted at Tesla and said, "Hey, people are vandalizing our cars now,
Hmm.
more than they were before,
Hmm.
because of political stuff.
Hmm.
And can you give us a car alarm? Can you give? I don't know what. I mean, I know that there's Sentry mode, but they want more than Sentry. And so they said if it could just say like an announcement when somebody comes near, hey, Sentry mode is
You're
active.
being
You're
recorded,
being
or yeah,
recorded, and then maybe you're not going to get your car keyed, which
yeah,
presumably this person may have got their car keyed. They were kind of putting that suggestion out.
inferring that.
So Elon said he tweeted back and said, well, you could also honk the horn. Why way to think outside the box there, Elon.
Or make the
But
car honk the horn.
yeah, it could make the car honk. Like that
Yeah.
was his addition to this. Is it could make the car honk the horn? Like that's the worst suggestion I've heard Elon make. Normally he chimes in with something useful. This was like the other person said,
That seems like kind of a meh kind of comment.
yeah. And so who knows if he was taking it seriously or not. But where my mind went was when people are asking for help from the company to stop people from vandalizing their cars due to political reasons. It is another sign that the board of the company needs to look at how the company itself is being run by the CEO and whether or not said CEO has put the company in a bad situation that is not just costing shareholders money. I don't care if
Mhm.
shareholders lose money. I'm not a shareholder.
Mhm.
I don't care. I have no investment in that. But if somebody goes and they purchase a $40,000 car and
It
like
becomes a
that,
target of
and
vandalism.
it
Yeah.
becomes target vandalism, all they're trying to do is get from point A to point B
Yeah.
and with their family. And that this is not doing the customer the best job. And it's one thing for whatever that one celebrity was who gave back her car. And then I saw
Oh, it's been
Elvira.
more than one now.
Yeah, but Elvira, Mistress of the Darkness, also did it recently. She gave back her car and wrote like Elon sucks or something on the side of it and had the
Yeah.
thing towed away and did a video of that. It's one thing for them to do it, but it's another for like, if you all of a sudden felt like you couldn't drive somewhere in your Model 3,
Hmm.
I mean, you've got another car, but it's not exactly what you want to be like daily driving.
No.
So it it seems like this is a sign that the board needs to get to the root of the issue. They should also put a car alarm on the thing. Great idea. But there is a root to the problem that needs to be solved. And when your customers are asking for that, somebody's got to take notice. When do people take notice?
Yeah. I'm gonna sidestep this. I've already
I didn't even want to talk about this.
I've already made my, but on a happier note, I'll tell you what's something almost everyone likes, except maybe vegans, but
What is that? Why are you throwing
ice
vegans
cream.
under the bus? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Can you get vegan ice cream?
Well, you probably can. I've actually had vegan ice cream. It's not bad.
So then you definitely can.
Okay, so everybody loves ice cream, even vegans, if it's vegan,
Even vegan.
even vegans. So Ben and Jerry's a pretty well-known name in the ice cream world. They just showed off a special ice cream truck made by
It's one of those,
Rivian.
yeah, one of those Rivian, the commercial vans that you can now buy,
Yeah,
which is the Amazon van, but
now
not.
it's a Ben and Jerry's van, I
Yeah,
guess.
now it's got the side sail thing. Yeah, I've never seen Ben and Jerry's like going around doing like food truck kind of stuff, but I mean,
I
maybe
think
it exists.
once or twice I've seen it. Yeah,
Okay, so
but
it
it's
does
usually the
exist. This isn't.
janky old like Chevy,
No, I've seen ice
lab
cream
van.
trucks, but I've not seen a Ben and Jerry's specific branded one that
Yeah,
only sells Ben and Jerry's stuff. But sure, why not? This is a great sign that they've actually
yeah.
sold one. Rivian needs to survive, and
One.
and here they go, and it looks great. Link in
Yeah.
the show notes. That there was something. The scoop truck will be officially debuted at South by Southwest. There you go.
Oh, there you go.
So go if you've got a commercial. If you're looking for a commercial fleet, I don't really know how great this van is, but go and buy some of these things. We need Rivian
Yeah.
to
I want
survive.
my R3X, darn it.
Yeah, we desperately need them to
help them to
survive.
make the next couple years.
We also desperately need you to go to the whatcar.com/store and purchase t-shirts and hats and whatnot to help support the blog and the podcast. The blogcast, everything you've listened
The
to,
blogcast. I
the
like that.
blogcast, everything you've listened to will be there'll be links in the show notes. You can find that online or into the podcast. You can share us on social media. We're on a lot of social medias. We're on Instagram and Blue Sky and Facebook and Threads. And I think that's it. I don't know. But share us wherever you are. Share a link to the podcast. Or Ed's been busy in the last week. He's written a few articles. You can go on there. You can read some of those articles and you can share those out too. And that really helps us. There's ways that you can communicate directly with us. Hello at thewalkcar.com is one of them. But I suggest that you just leave a comment on the youtube.com/at the walkcar, one of the videos randomly. Just leave a random comment on anything. I don't know. Supposedly that helps. And the walkcar.com/advertise. Any Chinese company wants to come in.
Or Ben and Jerry's. I'd take
Or,
that too.
yeah, no, I was just going to say, I don't know if I can take Chinese money. So we'll go with Ben and Jerry's. I don't know how that works. You can
I think
Venmo
FBI might
me.
show up at your door.
Yeah. So I don't, so Ben and Jerry's.
Ben
We
and
take
Jerry's.
payment in ice cream.
Yes.
So fly us out to South by Southwest and I'll eat your ice cream. I don't know what we're doing next week, but we'll be back. You can't stop us. So I'll talk to you in a week.
All right.